I never believed in love at first sight until the day my grocery cart wheel broke in the middle of the parking lot and a complete stranger offered to fix it just to see me smile. It was one of those brutally hot Saturday afternoons in late July when the asphalt shimmers and you can practically see the heat waves rising off the pavement. I'd just finished my weekly grocery run, cart loaded with the usual suspects, bags of produce, boxes of pasta, way too many frozen pizzas because I still hadn't learned how to actually cook for myself, despite being 26 years old and living alone for 3 years. I was pushing my cart toward my car when I heard this awful grinding sound followed by a metallic snap. The front left wheel of my cart just completely gave up on life, twisting at this horrible angle and refusing to roll anymore. I stood there in the middle of the parking lot, sweating through my t-shirt, staring down at this broken cart like it had personally betrayed me. Which, honestly, it kind of had. I tried pushing it forward, but it just scraped and dragged, making this noise that had people turning to look at me. You know that feeling when you're suddenly the center of attention for all the wrong reasons? Yeah, that was me. I could feel my face getting red, and not just from the heat. I was trying to figure out if I should just abandon the cart and carry everything in my arms when I heard this voice behind me say, "That sounds pretty rough." I turned around and there he was, tall, maybe 6'1", with dark hair that was slightly too long and fell across his forehead in a way that looked effortlessly good. He was wearing a faded blue t-shirt with some band logo I didn't recognize and jeans that had actual grease stains on them. His hands were in his pockets and he had this easy, relaxed posture like he had all the time in the world. But what really got me were his eyes, brown, warm, with these little crinkles at the corners that suggested he smiled a lot. "Yeah, it's having a moment," I said, trying to sound casual instead of completely flustered, which I absolutely was. He walked closer and crouched down to look at the wheel, and I caught myself staring at the way his shoulders moved under his shirt. "The bolt sheared right off," he said, running his fingers along the metal. "Happens with these cheaper carts. They're not built to last." "Story of my life," I muttered, then immediately regretted it, because that sounded way more pathetic out loud than it did in my head. He looked up at me and smiled, and I swear to God, my heart did this weird flutter thing that I'd only read about in books. "I can fix this," he said. "If you want. I've got tools in my truck." "You just carry around cart repair tools?" I asked, trying to make a joke because I didn't know what else to do with the nervous energy suddenly buzzing through my body. "I'm a wheelwright," he said, standing up. "Well, technically, I restore antique wheels and do custom metalwork, but the principle's the same. A wheel's a wheel." "A wheelwright," I repeated. "That's actually a thing, like a job people have in the 21st century. "It is when you're weird enough to care about preserving old crafts," he said, and there was something self-deprecating and genuine in his tone that made me like him immediately. "I'm Oliver, by the way." "Reed," I said, and when we shook hands, his grip was firm and his palm was rough with calluses, and I held on maybe half a second longer than was strictly necessary. "So, Reed, want me to fix your cart? I promise I'm not a serial killer or anything. I mean, that's probably what a serial killer would say, but I really am just a guy who fixes wheels for a living and happens to have a soft spot for people having bad days in parking lots." I laughed, actually laughed, and some of the tension in my shoulders released. "Sure," I said. "I mean, worst case scenario, I'm exactly where I am now with a broken cart. Best case scenario, I get a working cart and a good story." "That's the spirit," Oliver said, and his smile got wider. "Be right back." I watched him jog across the parking lot to a beat-up pickup truck that had seen better days, probably around the same time my cart's wheel was manufactured. He rummaged around in the truck bed and came back with a small toolbox, moving with this confident, purposeful energy that I found ridiculously attractive. He knelt down next to the cart again, and I crouched beside him. ostensibly to hold the cart steady, but really just because I wanted to be closer. "So how does someone become a wheelwright?" I asked, watching his hands as he worked. They moved with practiced precision, selecting tools, testing the wheel's range of motion. "Family business, originally," he said, not looking up from what he was doing. "My grandfather did wagon wheel restoration. My dad expanded into custom metalwork. I learned from both of them. Most people think it's pointless now, but there's actually decent demand for historical restoration work. Museums, historical sites, people restoring old carriages and wagons." "That's actually really cool," I said, and I meant it. "You're like preserving history." "Or I'm stubbornly refusing to accept that some skill should die out," he said, glancing at me with a slight smile. "Depends on who you ask." "I think it's the first one," I said. Our eyes met and held for a moment longer than casual conversation required, and I felt this pull in my chest, this sudden awareness of how close we were, how I could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, how his forearms flexed as he worked. I cleared my throat and looked away, feeling my face heat up again. "So what's the diagnosis, Doc?" "Well, the bolt's completely gone, but I think I can rig something temporary that'll get you home. You'll want to take this cart back and exchange it, though. The housing is cracked too. It's not going to last long term." "Got it," I said. "Temporary fix, then shame the store into giving me a cart that actually works." "Exactly," he said. And then he did something with a bolt and a washer that I didn't entirely follow because I was too busy noticing the concentration on his face, the way he bit his lower lip slightly when he was focused. This was not normal for me. I didn't usually get this distracted by random strangers. Sure, I'd had crushes before. A couple of relationships that fizzled out after a few months. But this felt different. More immediate. More intense. It was like every cell in my body was suddenly hyper-aware of Oliver's presence, of the space between us, of the way he smelled like metal and something woodsy, like cedar or sandalwood. "There," he said, giving the wheel a spin. It rotated smoothly, no grinding, no scraping. "That should hold." "You're a miracle worker," I said, standing up. He stood too, dusting off his hands on his jeans. "Nah, just a guy with the right tools," he said, "though I will accept payment in the form of that smile you were supposedly offering." My heart skipped. "What?" "Earlier, I said I'd fix your cart for a smile. I'm here to collect." He was grinning now, playful, and I realized he was flirting with me. Oliver was actually flirting with me. I smiled. Probably the most genuine smile I'd given anyone in weeks. "Like this." "Perfect," he said softly, and something shifted in the air between us. Something electric and terrifying and exciting all at once. We stood there in the middle of the parking lot, the sun beating down, my frozen pizzas probably melting in my cart, and I didn't want the moment to end. I wanted to say something clever, something that would keep him there, but my brain had apparently decided to stop functioning. "I should let you get your groceries home," Oliver said. But he didn't move, didn't step back. "Yeah," I said, also not moving. "Before everything melts." "Right." Neither of us moved. "This is going to sound incredibly forward," Oliver said, "but would you maybe want to grab coffee sometime? I promise I'll leave my tools at home." My stomach did a complete flip. "I'd really like that," I said, trying to sound calm when internally I was screaming yes, yes, yes on repeat. We exchanged numbers, fingers fumbling with phones, and then he helped me load my groceries into my car, even though the cart was fixed and I didn't need help. But I wasn't about to tell him that. When everything was loaded, we stood by my car door, and there was this moment where I thought he might kiss me. Or maybe I was projecting. But the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. "I'll text you," he said. "Please do," I said. He walked back to his truck, and I got in my car and sat there for a solid minute, just breathing, trying to process what had just happened. A cute guy had fixed my cart and asked me out. A cute guy who was a wheelwright, which was possibly the most unexpectedly charming profession I'd ever heard of. He texted me that evening. "Hey, it's Oliver, the wheelwright. In case you've met multiple wheelwrights today." I laughed out loud in my apartment, alone, grinning at my phone like an idiot. "Just the one," I typed back, "though the day's not over yet. Competitive field, wheelwrighting. We're always trying to poach each other's clients. I'm a very loyal client. Once someone fixes my cart, I'm committed." "Good to know. So about that coffee?" We made plans for Tuesday evening at a cafe downtown that I'd been to a few times. It was cozy, not too loud, the kind of place where you could actually have a conversation. I spent the next 3 days being completely useless at work, distracted and daydreaming, which was not like me at all. I was usually focused, professional, the guy who got his reports done early and kept his head down. But suddenly all I could think about was Oliver's smile, his hands, the way he'd looked at me in that parking lot. Tuesday took approximately 7,000 years to arrive. But finally I was sitting at a corner table in the cafe, 10 minutes early, because I was nervous and didn't know what else to do with myself. I'd changed my outfit 3 times, which was ridiculous because it was just coffee. But I wanted to look good without looking like I'd tried too hard. Oliver arrived exactly on time, wearing dark jeans and a green Henley that brought out the warm tones in his eyes. He spotted me and smiled. That same easy smile from the parking lot, and I felt myself relax slightly. "You're here?" he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Did you think I'd stand you up?" "No, but I was maybe 5% worried you'd decide the wheelwright thing was too weird." "Are you kidding? It's the most interesting job I've ever heard of. I work in insurance. I process claims all day. Your job is infinitely cooler than mine." We ordered coffee and fell into conversation so easily it was almost scary. He told me about his workshop, about the wagon wheel he was currently restoring for a museum in Virginia, about how he'd learned to forge metal from his grandfather when he was 12. I told him about my small apartment, my complete inability to cook anything that didn't come with instructions on the box, my secret obsession with terrible reality TV shows. "Wait, like how terrible are we talking?" Oliver asked, leaning forward with his elbows on the table. "Like people competing to marry someone they've never met terrible? Like people living on an island and forming alliances terrible?" "Oh, you're in deep," he said, grinning. "I respect that. Everyone needs a guilty pleasure. What's yours?" He looked almost embarrassed. "I collect old tools, like vintage hand tools from the 1800s. I have an entire wall in my workshop dedicated to them. That's not a guilty pleasure. That's on brand for a wheelwright." "Okay, fine. I also really love baking shows, like the British ones where everyone's polite and supportive and nobody yells." "That's adorable," I said, and then immediately worried that adorable was too much, too forward. But Oliver just smiled. "I've been called worse things." We talked for 2 hours. The coffee shop started to empty out around us and we barely noticed. I learned that Oliver was 28, that he lived in a converted barn outside the city that doubled as his workshop, that he had a cat named Anvil because he thought he was hilarious. He learned that I'd moved to the city for college and never left, that my family was back in Ohio, and we talked maybe once a month, that I'd always been a little bit lost about what I actually wanted to do with my life. "Insurance just kind of happened," I said. "I needed a job after graduation. I was good with numbers." And suddenly, 5 years had passed. And here I am. "Do you like it?" Oliver asked. And the question was so direct, so genuinely curious, that I found myself being more honest than I'd planned. Not really, I admitted. It's fine. It pays the bills. But it's not something I'm passionate about. Not like you with your wheels. It's not too late to find something you care about, he said. I know that sounds like a motivational poster, but it's true. My dad didn't start the metalwork business until he was 35. Before that, he was an accountant. Really? Really? He said he woke up one day and realized he was miserable, so he quit and apprenticed with my grandfather. Best decision he ever made. That's brave, I said. Or crazy. Depends on the day. Oliver smiled. But I think you should do what makes you happy. Life's too short to spend it doing something that makes you feel dead inside. There was something about the way he said it, so matter-of-fact and sincere, that made my chest ache in a good way. We left the cafe and walked down the street with no particular destination, just walking because neither of us wanted the night to end. The city lights reflected off the windows of closed shops, and the air had cooled to something almost pleasant. I had a really good time tonight, Oliver said, when we finally stopped near where I'd parked my car. Me too, I said. Really good. Can I see you again? I'd be disappointed if you didn't ask. He smiled, stepped closer, and for a second I thought this was it. This was the moment. But instead he just squeezed my hand gently. I'll text you. You better, I said, trying not to sound as breathless as I felt. I drove home in a daze, replaying every moment of the evening in my head. When I got to my apartment, I found a text from him already waiting. Made it home. Already looking forward to next time. Next time was that Friday. Dinner at a small Italian place that Oliver knew about. Then the following Wednesday, a movie that we both agreed was terrible, but we had fun anyway. Then Sunday brunch. Then a walk through the botanical gardens. Then suddenly, we were seeing each other 2 or 3 times a week, and I was falling, actually falling, in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. It was different with Oliver. Everything felt natural, unforced. We could talk for hours or sit in comfortable silence. He made me laugh constantly with his dry sense of humor and his ridiculous stories from the workshop. And the way he looked at me, really looked at me like I was someone worth paying attention to, made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced before. About a month in, he invited me to his workshop. I want to show you what I do, he said. If you're interested, no pressure. I'm very interested, I said, which was an understatement. His place was exactly as he'd described it, a converted barn down a long gravel driveway, surrounded by trees. The main floor was his workshop, all exposed beams and natural light from huge windows, tools hanging on pegboards, a forge in one corner, several wheels in various states of repair scattered around. The smell of wood and metal and oil filled the air. It was chaotic and organized at the same time, clearly the space of someone who knew exactly where everything was, even if it looked like controlled chaos to an outsider. This is amazing, I said, turning in a slow circle to take it all in. It's home, Oliver said, and there was pride in his voice. Come on. I'll show you what I'm working on. He walked me through his current project, a wagon wheel from the 1860s that had been in terrible condition when he got it. He explained the process of restoration, showing me the new spokes he'd carved, the metal rim he'd forged, the careful work of making sure everything was historically accurate. His hands moved as he talked, gesturing, touching the wood with a gentleness that made my heart ache. You really love this, I said. I do, he said simply. It's meditative, you know? Taking something broken and making it whole again. Preserving something that might otherwise be lost. He paused, looked at me. Sorry. I'm probably boring you. You're not, I said, stepping closer. Not even a little bit. We were standing very close now. close enough that I could see the flecks of sawdust in his hair, close enough that when he reached up and tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear, his fingers brushed my cheek, and I stopped breathing. "Reed," he said softly. "Yeah, I really want to kiss you right now." "Please do," I whispered. He kissed me, soft and careful at first, like he was afraid I might pull away. But I didn't pull away. I leaned in, my hands finding his waist, his arms wrapping around me, and the kiss deepened. It felt like coming home, like something clicking into place that I hadn't even known was missing. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard, and his forehead rested against mine. "I've wanted to do that since the parking lot," he admitted. "Me too," I said. "I thought I was imagining the connection." "You weren't imagining it." He kissed me again, shorter this time. Sweet. "I'm falling for you, Reed. I know it's only been a month, but I am." My heart felt too big for my chest. "I'm falling for you too." We spent the rest of the afternoon in his workshop, him working on the wheel while I sat on a stool and watched, and we talked about everything and nothing. He told me about his family, his grandfather who'd taught him everything, his parents who'd always supported his unusual career choice. I told him about my own family, about being the youngest of 3, and always feeling like I was trying to catch up, about coming out to my parents when I was 22, and the awkward year that followed before they finally came around. "Are you out?" I asked him. Sorry, I should have asked earlier. "I am," he said. "Have been since I was 19. My family was great about it. My grandfather told me that love was love, and anyone who had a problem with it could take it up with him. And since he was 6'4" and built like a brick wall, nobody took him up on that offer." I laughed. "He sounds amazing." He was. He passed away 2 years ago. I miss him every day. Oliver's voice got quiet. "He would have liked you." "Yeah? Yeah. He always said I needed someone who could make me laugh and keep me grounded. Someone who saw the person, not just the craft." "I see you," I said softly. He looked up from the wheel, his eyes meeting mine, and the vulnerability there took my breath away. "I know you do." As summer turned to fall, we became inseparable. I had a drawer at his place. He had a key to my apartment. We fell into routines, comfortable and domestic. Friday nights were pizza and bad movies at my place. Sunday mornings were breakfast at the diner near his workshop. Wednesday evenings were for trying new restaurants, our ongoing quest to find the best tacos in the city. I met his friends, other craftspeople and artists who ran in his circles. They welcomed me immediately, teasing Oliver about finally finding someone who could put up with him. He met my small circle of friends from work and college, and they pulled me aside later to tell me they'd never seen me this happy. "You're different with him," my friend Sarah said. "More relaxed, more yourself." And she was right. With Oliver, I didn't feel like I had to perform or pretend. I could be messy and uncertain and still figuring things out. And he never made me feel like that was a problem. He encouraged me to explore what I actually wanted to do with my life. To take a pottery class I'd been eyeing. To write again like I used to in college. "You don't have to have it all figured out," he said one night as we lay in his bed, the windows open to let in the cool October air. "Nobody does. We're all just making it up as we go." "You seem to have it figured out," I said. "I know what I want to do for work," he corrected. "That doesn't mean I have everything figured out. I still don't know where I want to be in 5 years, if I want to expand the business or keep it small, if I want to stay in this barn forever or eventually move. Life's messy and uncertain, and that's okay." I rolled over to face him, tracing patterns on his chest with my finger. "How are you so wise?" "I'm not wise. I just overthink everything. and occasionally stumble onto something that sounds good. He caught my hand, brought it to his lips. But I do know that I want you in my life. That's the one thing I'm certain about. I want you in my life too, I said. Like permanently. Permanently, huh? He smiled. That's a long time. I know. Good, he said, pulling me closer. Because I'm not going anywhere. 6 months after the broken cart in the parking lot, Oliver asked me to move in with him. We were having dinner at his place, something he'd cooked because he was actually competent in the kitchen unlike me, and he just said it casually like he was commenting on the weather. You should move in here, if you want. I looked up from my plate. Are you serious? Completely serious. You're here most of the time anyway, and I love having you here. The place feels empty when you're not around. He paused, but no pressure. If it's too soon or you're not ready, that's totally fine. It's not too soon, I said. I'd love to move in with you. His face lit up. Yeah? Yeah. We kissed across the table, knocking over a water glass in the process, both of us laughing as we tried to clean it up. 2 weeks later, I gave notice on my apartment and started the process of moving my life into his converted barn. It felt right in a way that nothing else in my life ever had. Living with Oliver was easy in all the ways that mattered and challenging in the small ways that made us grow. He was a morning person, I wasn't. He liked things organized in specific ways, I was more chaos-oriented. But we figured it out, compromised, learned each other's rhythms and needs. And every day I woke up next to him, I felt grateful for that broken cartwheel, for his kindness, for the chance encounter that changed everything. 1 year after we met, we went back to that grocery store parking lot. It was Oliver's idea, sentimental in a way that made my heart melt. We stood in approximately the same spot where my cart had broken down and he pulled me close. A year ago, I fixed a cart for a smile, he said. Best decision I ever made. I gave you way more than a smile, I pointed out. You gave me everything, he said simply. You gave me yourself. I kissed him there in the parking lot, not caring who saw, not caring about anything except this man who had appeared in my life exactly when I needed him, who had seen something in me worth pursuing, worth loving, who had taken something broken and made it whole again. And I wasn't just talking about the cart. I love you, I said against his lips. I love you too, he said. My favorite client. Your only client when it comes to cart repair? True, but still my favorite. We walked back to his truck hand in hand, and I thought about how strange and wonderful life could be. How a random malfunction, a broken wheel, a hot parking lot had led me here. To love, to home, to a future I was actually excited about. I'd spent so long feeling lost, feeling like I was just going through the motions, and then Oliver had appeared with his tools and his smile and his gentle certainty, and everything had shifted. I still worked in insurance, though I'd started taking writing classes at night. Oliver still restored wheels and did custom metalwork, though he'd taken on an apprentice, a kid fresh out of high school who reminded him of himself. We adopted a second cat, a scruffy orange thing we named Hammer to match Anvil. We talked about the future, about maybe getting married someday, about growing old together in the barn, surrounded by tools and wheels and the life we were building together. But mostly, we just lived. We had quiet mornings and loud laughter. We had disagreements and make-ups. We had ordinary days and extraordinary moments. We had each other, and that was more than enough. Sometimes I think about that day in the parking lot, about how close I came to just abandoning the cart and walking away, about how easily I could have missed him, missed this, missed us. But I didn't walk away. I stood there, frustrated and hot and embarrassed. And he appeared. My wheelwright. My love. The man who fixed more than just my cart that day. He fixed something in me I didn't even know was broken. He showed me what it felt like to be truly seen, truly loved, truly home. And every day I get to wake up next to him. I remember that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. From broken wheels and hot parking lots, and strangers who offer to help just to see you smile. And I smile for him every single day.